Then, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin our session, the business session that is hosted by the Korea International Trade Association. We will be discussing your efforts, achievements, outlook, and remaining tasks for sustainable economic cooperation within Eurasian countries. I believe that our participants are all here, and we also would like to have them join us up on stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, and moderator who will be participating in our business session, I'd like to welcome you up on stage. 네, 무대 위로 모시겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome them with a big round of applause. Yes, I believe that they have now been situated in their seats, and our moderator for this session will be Professor Zhang Jin Li of Kookmin University. With that, I turn the microphone over to Professor Li.
안녕하십니까? 저는
Good afternoon. I am the moderator of the business session. My name is Lee Sang-jun, and I'm a professor of Kookmin University. I'm honored to serve as a moderator for this session. I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizer, and also I'd like to thank the Ilkhom Khaydarov, chairman of the Uzbekistan Textile Association. Thank you very much for joining us. And also the Alexander Petrovsky, head of the Group for Pacific Studies at IMIMO, Russia. I'd like to also thank the Coley Huang, the president of the Digitimes, Dinara Kemelova, ambassador of the Embassy of the Kyrgyz Republic in Korea, and also the Rezepov, the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce of Turkmenistan, Hwang from Korea, Korus, Kim Tae-gyun, Gyeongdong, Navien, and also the Kim Kang-myung-gu, researcher of the KDB Research Institute, as well as the Sung Jin-seo, member of the Russia Gas Society. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. At this business session, we are going to be talking about the efforts, achievements, and outlooks, as well as remaining tasks of the sustainable economic cooperation with the Eurasian countries. So we will take stock upon the achievement that we have made so far, as well as the challenges that are ahead of us. We'd like to also talk about some strategies to overcome the economic and industrial impacts from COVID-19. So we will have the presentations, and then we will have the panel discussion.
디지털
First and foremost, let us start with Mr. Coley Huang, CEO of Digitimes. Mr. Hwang is a top-notch ICT industry expert in Taiwan and has presented various analyses on ICT value chains in Taiwan and Asia-Pacific region. I'd like to invite him here online. Mr. Hwang? Hi, would you please start now? Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Professor Lee.
Fortunately, English is worse. And absolutely, if you want, you ask me to present the English in Korean, I will try with my best. I suppose most of the audience today are Korean friends. So may I try with my Korean? 저는 한국에서
I was in Korea until 1980s before coming back to Taiwan, and I was in Korea for 2 years. After coming back to Taiwan at that time, I didn't have many opportunities to speak my language of Korean there. It's because I have my Korean language rusted like this. But I have Korean friends, and I have my experience of making friends with many Korean people. So in Korean language, I would like to now try to speak in Korean as much as I can for my presentation. Taiwan is actually playing an important role as the supply chain for the electronics business. So in Taiwan, we have the Samkang Electronic Company, which is an electronic company, and had many other electronic companies in Taiwan. Combine them all together, the production value is about $800 billion. This year alone, including all these elements, we have achieved 13% of the growth rate. Digitimes is the only electronic newspaper, industrial newspaper in Taiwan, just like Chanja News in Korea. But in the UK, they have about 50 of them, the industrial newspapers. So I would like to tell you that we have many of the articles coming out are actually a lot about the industries. So we have had a lot of research and developments on the supply chains and demand. So I would like to now share with you what kind of results have been made from this research and development. June this year, President of the United States, Mr. Biden, had announced that there was an important issue of the supply chains. In the US, the semiconductor industry, electronic industry, and the batteries used for these industries, the medicine, these three were the major items as announced by the US. These three important elements are the sources of the industries that require supply chains. So it was emphasized by Biden in the US. However, Taiwan, of course, is boasting its development of semiconductor. The semiconductor industry in Taiwan is very similar to that of Korea. So we have two things to mention here. Just 1 second, please.
Thank you. I think it's too difficult for me to present you in Korean. Let me try English again. Apologize for that. I come back to Taiwan in 1985. That year was a taking off year of Taiwan's high-tech industry. Taiwan tried to produce personal computer, and then we are the most important player and powerhouse for manufacturing semiconductor and personal computer as well. Today, more than 80% of the notebook PCs or motherboards still produced by Taiwanese makers. There is a bit most important reason why we have a very active semiconductor industry, and this is so-called supply chain. People looking at how Taiwan moved after pandemic. So people like to know something about that. So I try to explain to you. In February this year, Biden administration, they share with us about their perspectives about supply chain. They say the American government or American we control semiconductor and EVUs, battery, rare earths, and medicine, especially meaningful supply chain policies. And but people know that emerging markets like South Asian countries, India, they are also trying to become the key player. And people watching what are the key issues between U.S.-China trade war. So 2 years ago, I published a book called Asian Age. Asian Age has two different meanings about that. One is technical issues. Another one is geopolitical issues. You know, during a Cold War stage, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are in the front line between America and Russia. Today, U.S.-China trade war, we stay in the front line, and but the weapons are different compared with half century before. Today, semiconductor and the ICT supply chain are the most important key issues between U.S. and China, and more than 60% of the memory ICs controlled and provided by Korean companies and foundry, as you know, TSMC, UMC in Taiwan play important role. And as I know, more than 60% of the semiconductors Korean made, they ship to China. And because China is the most important production site, until today, as I know, 60% of the semiconductor consumed by China. But I say consumed by China, we still need to identify two different categories. One is local Chinese companies like Huawei, like Xiaomi. They contribute about 38%. The rest of the 22% consumed by multinational companies like Sony, like Foxconn, and Pegatron, Compal from Taiwan. So China consumed about 60% of the worldwide semiconductor. But I believe that the portfolio will be changed in the coming decades, because according to the survey by Digitimes, we predict 3 years later, Vietnam will contribute about 30 to 35% of the notebook PC production, and another 10 to 15%. Thailand will play an important role. But in case of the handset, I mean mobile phone, India is also very important for that. I know Samsung has a very big plant in Noida, nearby Delhi. But the companies from Taiwan, like Foxconn, Pegatron, and Wishon, they have a big plant building and or operating in India as well. So I believe more than half of the mobile phone in the future will be produced in India. But think about that. Today, Korea and Taiwan are the high-tech island chains, because people want to share our experience and the production, especially in the first half of this year. Or the automotive industry, they have the problems about semiconductor shortage, and absolutely not only Samsung, Hynix has this kind of pressure from car makers, but also Taiwanese company, because now it's about the legacy. I mean, the traditional and mature technology we don't invest in over past maybe 3 or 4 years. So people want the car use semiconductor and more smoothly supply and the demand. And but if our supply chain more diversified than before, and where will be the hub for distribution? I think Taiwan could be the hub for new distribution system, because distributed manufacturing system will be more important than before. As I mentioned, not only Vietnam, India, but also Thailand try to be the production hub for automobile, especially electric vehicle in the future. So how long will be in Southeastern Asian countries? So that's why I say geopolitical issues is more important than before. And who owns the cutting edge technology? And maybe Korean companies, and maybe some companies like TSMC, UMC in Taiwan, or MediaTek in Taiwan. So we are the solution provider. Actually, recently we conducted a survey about supply chain 100 in Asia. We combined the automobile industry and the electronic industry together. We found 37 companies are from Japan, includes a company like Toyota, Nissan, and vehicle companies. They are the more important the role in this field. And the companies, 11 companies from Korea, and 33 from China, 14 from Taiwan. South Asian countries only have 5 in the top 100 list. 4 companies from India and 1 from Indonesia. So I believe in the coming years, coming decades, most of the solutions must be from northeastern countries, especially Taiwan, Korea, will play a very important role in the future, I believe. And speak frankly, the ambassador from Canada, he visited me recently to Taiwan, and he said, we want to build a new connection with Taiwan about the automobile industry, because, Canada, automobile industry contribute about 7 to 8%, just like Korea, to their GDP. But more items, more components are from electronics. So people understand that in the coming decades, electric car getting more important. So they come to Taiwan to deal with Taiwan, how to build their new factories in Canada or in North America, and they can play active role in the future. And not only Canada, Mexico also talk to Taiwan, and after COVID-19, and maybe U.S.-China trade was still keeping that as usual, but Taiwan could become a very important gatekeeper and to control which items can ship to China or cannot, something like that. So we have some filters like Avnet, WPG. They are the most important component distributor, but also licensing companies like EMS or UL, and also the local companies like unicorns in Indonesia, like Grab, like Gojek in South Asian countries. They also need hardware solutions. So they deal with Taiwan very closely to try to build a new manufacturing, new sites in South Asian countries. So that's why I believe it's a mega trend. But also China try to keep their position. Today, as I mentioned, 60% of the semiconductor consumed by China companies, but they how to keep their industry charming or attractive. So domestic market is very, very important. Maybe you didn't know that. Year 2020, 10% of the 5G mobile phone, the market opportunities happen in Korea, but the rest of the 80% happen in China. China's doing very well, and they push the 5G usage more efficient and more competitive. And even today, even this year, I mean year 2021, China 5G mobile phone shipment will contribute about half of the world market. There is a reason why companies like Qualcomm, Broadcom, AMD, NVIDIA still watching China market opportunities. So China will build the 5G and the infrastructure for industrial upgrade, and there is a huge local consumption, and good for people to share with them and to leverage China industry market opportunities. But the purpose of the China, why they need to do that kind of things, they're still watching the international opportunities. They're trying to produce more commodity for export, and the processing of the technology of the products in China, inside of China. So they will build the materials, equipment, and they try to capitalize and attract more technicians, work with them. So China is still very important. But today, I know many Korean friends that are watching Taiwan's foundry business. Yes, it's not easy to handle process technology, current structure, and the ecosystem at once. It's not easy. Today, Taiwan TSMC has about the 55% worldwide foundry business, and they are maybe 3 to 4 times bigger than Samsung in foundry business, and they are very profitable. Their gross margin as high as 40%. The gross margin, gross margin is about 51%, but the net will be about 40%. That is not easy. But the most important thing is they invest half of their revenue into capex. So if I say my revenue is 3 times the new, and I invest half my revenue into our capex, so that is not easy to catch up. So absolutely, Korean companies like Samsung and Hynix have to think about the diversity of their own business, but it's a real challenge. So because I can do Korean languages, I know something about the Korean status, but it's not easy to catch up in the coming decades. So if you want to do process technologies, client structure, and the ecosystem together, they challenge for you to stuck in the middle. So that's what I like to suggest to you. How does a European company work with Asian companies? This is my suggestion. Absolutely, most of the standard or new concept about ESG derived from Europe. But this come back to provide or produce cost-effective and efficient products to customers is not easy. So today, this year, we're talking about work from home. And as I mentioned before, more than 80% of the notebook PC produced by Taiwanese makers. And this year, we have more than 19%, 90% growth rate in notebook PC, and we have even higher growth in data center for servers. So we still keeping in the, Taiwanese companies still keeping the very competitive position in ICT supply chain. And in the coming years, we will move our manufacturing not only product oriented.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So in the era of the post-COVID world, we talked about changes in the ICT industry and landscape. And he also gave us a very insightful advice on how to tackle all these challenges. And regarding his presentation, if you do have any questions, we're going to entertain the questions during the Q&A session. Next, we would like to invite the Kim Taek-hyun, Managing Director of the Global Business Division of KD Navien, and he will be talking about a case of entering new northern region based on green technology. Gyeongdong Navien, based on the technology of reducing pollutants, the product has been widely popular in Central Asia and Russia. In this era of the 2050 carbon neutrality, they are responding actively to climate change. So we would like to hear from the case of the Gyeongdong Navien and how they fostered cooperation with countries in northern regions. Good afternoon. I am Kim Taek-hyun, Managing Director of Global Business Division at KD Navien. Celebrating the 30th anniversary of diplomatic ties with new northern region countries, it is indeed my honor to be part of this 2021 International Forum for Northern Economic Cooperation. And also I would like to thank the organizer for giving me the chance to give presentation on KD Navien and how we establish our presence in northern region markets with green technology. So I'd like to thank the President Committee of the Northern Economic Cooperation, as well as the KITA, and also the National Research Councils on Economy, Humanities, and Social Sciences. And also I'd like to thank all those who are joining us online and offline. As you know, on the 13th of last month, in Glasgow, in the UK, there was the 26th COP conference, and the biggest buzzword in that General Assembly was carbon neutrality. In other words, countries around the world, they all agreed to phase out subsidies for fossil fuels and expand the renewable energy. Our company is currently pursuing ESG and as well as environment-friendly management. So we focus a lot on environment, social, I'm sorry for this technical glitch. Somehow I cannot move the slide. Can anyone help me? I'm sorry. Apology. My apology once again. So we focus on environment preservation. We also try to make social contribution and build strong governance system. In other words, ESG is the direction that we aim forward in order to survive and thrive in the future. As you know, carbon dioxide and the nitrogen oxides, these are the substances that aggravate the global warming and wreak havoc on environment. In order to reduce the production of these pollutants, KD Navien, for the first time among Korean companies, we have utilized the condensing technology to produce heater and boiler, and to minimize emission of the environmentally harmful substances. We plan to commercialize hydrogen-based boilers, as well as the HVO, or hydrotreated vegetable oil-based boilers, as well as the geothermal energy heat pump boilers. And they are already in the final stages of product development. So not just for domestic market, we are planning to provide these innovative products to countries around the world, including Russia. Navien, our corporate name, is the combination of navigator, energy, and environment. We put a lot of focus on social contribution through corporate activities. We put them into practice, and we are also trying to be a partner for a smarter living environment by contributing to greenhouse gas reduction, as well as the minimization of fine dust. This is our business area. So we do have the boiler and water heater businesses, as well as total air care, hot water mattress, and home IoT, utilizing IoT technology. And one thing that I would like to emphasize for my presentation is the cascade system, where we install the small-scale boilers in parallel in order to overcome the limitations of large-scale heating devices. Here you can see our corporate mission and social responsibilities. As I said, the meaning of our corporate name, Navien, is the navigator of energy and environment. As I said, we focus a lot on home network cascade system, boiler, and also water heaters. In particular, when it comes to the environment-friendly condensing technology, let me put it in an easy way. After exhaustion or combustion, the exhaust gas is discharged, and these exhaust gas contain carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and a lot of heat. And therefore, rather than wasting them, we recuperate them so that the heat can be reabsorbed as a calorie, and the harmful substances such as the carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxides can be minimized. This could be realized with the Navien's own proprietary technology called the condensing technology. And utilizing this technology, we can enhance energy efficiency by 28% versus the conventional boiler system, as well as reduce carbon dioxide significantly. Especially when it comes to the nitrogen oxide, we can achieve 79% reduction. And here you can see the examples of the cascade system. In order to ensure thorough quality control, we have 200 engineers. And we also have a factory in Satan area. And we do have the production capacity of 2 million units per year, which is the largest in the world. And in year 2012, we were selected as world-class 300 companies designated by the Trade Promotion Agency of Korea. And over the past 5 years, since 2017, our revenue grew by 67% and export by 140%. As you can see from this slide, In early 2010s, our export volume amounted only to $1 million, but now we are about to achieve huge amount of export, so up to like $500 million. And we have exported our products to 30 countries around the world, and we are representing a lion's share of boiler business in Korea. This slide shows how we are selected as World Class 300 company. And also in the US market for 13 consecutive years, we have been #1 in wall-mounted hot water system. And also in Russia for 7 consecutive years, we are the leading company in wall-mounted gas-based boiler system. And also in year 2018, we achieved the 1 million units of sales both in Russia and also in the US market. We have our presences in 30 countries around the world, including the US, Canada, Russia, China, and UK, and we do have overseas offices there. So this is our business in the US, China, Russia, and UK. Now, I would like to talk about the highlight of my presentation. As I said, Gyeongdong Navien, we were Russia's #1 in terms of the market share for wall-mounted gas boiler system for 7 consecutive years since 2014. And also, we were selected as a national brand for 3 consecutive years from 2016. The reason that we were able to make such a massive success in the Russian market was because we conducted a very thorough market researches in order to understand the Russian market situation. And we also looked into the Russia's electricity supply situations, as well as the old gas pipes. So we tried to develop the technology that can maintain combustion process even at low gas pressure. And also the Russia, they install boilers in kitchens and living rooms in various places, and therefore we came up with a design for flexible installation. And also utilizing the condensing technology, we tried to provide the best products befitting the Russian market. That's why we were able to win the hearts of Russian consumers. Currently, across Russia, we have 100 dealer networks. We do have 580 service centers in operation. And also, every year, 60 times a year, we visit the dealer service centers and installation agencies throughout Russia and conduct technological seminars. In particular, we actively take part in the regional hub project organized by KOTRA and win the project deals from the local government. I believe that that's all contributing to the current success that Navien is enjoying in the Russian market today. And going beyond the business of the boilers and the water heaters, we are providing the environment-friendly condensing boilers that utilize and tap in green technologies to meet the needs of Russian consumers and at the same time pursuing decarbonization, which is garnering huge interest from all around the world. We developed this condensing technology and applied it to boiler products. And not just for domestic markets, we are exporting these products to overseas. And these are not just for domestic, but for industrial and commercial applications. As you can see, this slide shows the large-scale industrial boiler. But on the right-hand side, you can see the condensing boilers are proprietary technologies that provide hot water ready for commercial buildings from multiple small gas boilers installed in parallel. And this cascade system can significantly reduce the emission of carbon dioxide as well as the nitrogen oxide. And we can also optimize the volume of calories. As you can see from the right-hand photo, you see that these 20 boilers are installed in parallel, which can produce the capacity equivalent to a large-scale industrial conventional boiler. And it can flexibly react to the demand changes. So for example, like if we only need small calories, a small demand, then only some of them will be in operation. But when we need a lot of energy, then whole boiler systems are fully in operation. And here you can see a lot of projects that are underway in Russia. Here you can see the example of the city called Penza. And we install these individual boilers in parallel, so 5 in total, to provide hot water and heating system to the factory. And this shows the apartment complex where we supply the boilers and also the water heaters. This one is a very unique case. So this is the city called Izhevsk, and there are 29-story apartments with 250 households, and we provide 32 units of individual condensing boilers cascade systems, and we put them in 2 20-foot containers and put them on the rooftop of the building in order to provide the hot water and heating to 250 households. Another thing that we focus a lot on is social contribution. We want to return what we get from the Russian market back to the society. So under this mission, we are engaged in various CSR activities. In particular, we do have the different themes for our CSR activities, including socially disadvantaged people, culture, art, religion, education, and the adolescents. And together with the local governments, we have engaged in various CSR projects in sports, religion, and as I said, the socially disadvantaged people. And here you can see a famous short track skate player of Russia. And various winter sports events are also sponsored by our company. So we try to return what we earn from the Russian people back to the Russian society. Our corporate mission is aligned with ESG, which has become a buzzword globally nowadays. We abide by environment preservation, social contribution, and the ethical management. And we are also trying to build and provide advanced boiler and water heater systems to countries around the world, including Russia, to enhance the quality of lives of the public. At the same time, we are trying to contribute to the global trend of carbon reduction. I only gave you the examples of Russia, but we are also very active in Central Asian markets, including the Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. And also throughout the Central Asian countries, including Turkmenistan, we are trying to expand our businesses to these markets so that we can prosper in terms of business. But at the same time, not only that, we are trying to contribute to environment preservation of these countries so that we can return more to the community. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And so far, Mr. Coley Huang and Mr. Kim Taek-hyun have been talking about the business session here. They both emphasized the importance of ESG in their own presentation. ESG actually means a lot to all the businesses nowadays. With the climate change, which is integrated into the government policies, we have to take it for granted that ESG should be also part of our business. And also as a result of trying hard to get the hearts from the Uzbekistan people, Mr. Kim Taek-hyun and his company has been also working very hard to have the popularity. Congratulations. And also now we will have Chairman Ilkhom Khaydarov of Uztextilprom for the subject of textile value chain changes through the operation of Korea-Uzbekistan Textile Technopark. It is a very representative business result between Korea and Uzbekistan ever since its establishment in 2019. So I believe that this is a model case for the cooperation and the result of the hard work in the specific sectors. Uzbekistan is also experiencing a lot of changes after that. The examples will be digitalization and also the high-tech industries. So Mr. Chairman Ilkhom Khaydarov will provide us that insight as well. Thank you. 감사합니다. 사회자님, 의장님, 안녕하십니까?
and Social Services, Korea International Trade Association, and all the one who helped us to make today's event successful. I will start my presentation. I would like to highlight that in the beginning, it was boldly said that cooperation and inclusive. This is, I believe, main message which we are trying to deliver to today's audience. Representing textile industry which is having high competition in the world, we will keep our cooperation in all dimensions. Certainly, my presentation would not be lecturing, but rather sharing vision and experience of success story of Uzbekistan, which is only country for the last 25 years, managed to process entire crop of 1 million ton of cotton to high-tech and textile product. And it would be open for any suggestion and proposal. Believe my personal experience for 10 years in cotton trade and 12 years in textile would enable me to share interesting observation. Today I will speak about how concept of sustainability, green economy, and cotton value chain have been introduced in the textile and garment industry. As an example, I will use Uzbekistan. As a main promoter of digital and green technology, Korea playing one of the key role on sharpening of Uzbek textile. And it was very rightly mentioned by Dr. Li that our cooperation is engaging both sides. Our main partners for decades are Korean institutions like MOTI, KIAT, KITEC. Representative of those institutions are today with us, and I would like to share my personal appreciation to them. A number of private sector companies. Having this opportunity, I would like to mention that knowledge and know-how gathered within 100 years in industrial and technological development, brands and marketing in combination with our cotton strengths and competitive inputs makes our cooperation as the best example of synergy effect of cooperation between Korea and Uzbekistan. And among the true success story of Korean support policy and the ODA program is the Korean Uzbek Textile Technopark. Of course, on this slide you could see tens of names, and I can keep describing you our cooperation with each of them, and it could be very lengthy. But having in mind the short time for presentation, I will go further. Since its launch in 2019, Korean Uzbek Textile Technopark in Tashkent has become a real growth engine for our textile industry. The Technopark is firmly standing on its 6 important pillars. First, education and pilot plant and Tashkent Textile Institute boost a news facility for education and innovation. Think tank, our textile industry development strategy for 2017 and 2021 was successfully implemented. And currently, within Technopark, we are developing strategy for 2022-2026, where we are planning to guarantee sustainability with focus on environment and transparency, complying necessary standard, becoming a new sourcing hub, a top-notch solution provider, accelerating globalization, supply to both Europe and Asia because our strategic location in Central Asia, and raising diversification. Wide range of product will be produced within next 5 years, and it would be not only cotton, but we will go for non-cotton product as well. Third pillar is innovation and research and development, and fourth is know-how transfer, especially in IT and digitalization. The fifth pillar would be industrial and social compliances, including testing laboratory, which is very well suited in our Technopark. Sixth, very important one is the Business Incubator, and we especially for successful entrepreneurs in fashion industry. It strives to become a textile industry core, not only national, but on regional dimensions among Central Asian countries, with whom we had a successful meeting in April of 2021. We are ready to share a knowledge performing perfect bridge between Korea and the region. Being one of the largest cotton producers in the world and emerging as successful textile centers requires Uzbekistan to play in all particularities. In this regard, our biggest achievement is traceability in the value chain in cotton and textile industry. Progress in reaching traceability and circularity comes in line with the promotion of best practice that the key actor in global textile and garment industry has been implementing successfully. Since 2017, the practical achievement of sustainable production mechanism started to play main role in Uzbekistan by creating fundamentally new mechanism, we name it cluster model, where cycles began from cotton growing and finish with garment. Being unique scheme in the world when textile industry went upstream and bring industrial approach and modern innovation to the agriculture, true sustainability in cluster enables textile mills to secure quality and quantity at predictable price, which bring competitiveness to entire industry of Uzbekistan. Secondly, providing due diligence services, for example, in Germany and EU, it becoming a law, requiring providing sustainability and compliance for delivered product at every step of production. For the last 2 seasons, we have introduced organic cotton, which is certified, as well as number of Uzbek clusters start complying with the criteria of Better Cotton Initiative. What is our target? Circularity through utilization of pre-production and post-production, return from customer. This is becoming very important topics today. And in agriculture side, we started widely utilization of water-saving technology, especially in drip and pivot irrigation. When we are talking about our industry, we are always acknowledging that it is perfect textile chain, starting from cotton field to consumer shelf. You could see it on the chain, which is on our slide. Have told already about agriculture technologies, which includes mechanization, so every step of our production chain reaches perfection, like resource efficiency in spinning, automation, human factor reduction in weaving and knitting, quality compliances in garmenting, and finally, 100% capacity utilization and cost efficiency. What are goals we are planning to achieve? This is diversification, as I mentioned to you, shift from cotton-based to man-made fibers, know-how, especially in capacity building for our labor, market access, ending of pledge in priority. We make efforts to provide promotion, advertisement, and information. And of course, global integration, introduce the world to Uzbek textile, becoming preferred source for new brands. You might remember Uzbekistan as having long history of thriving artisanal textile. Today, textile industry is the second largest manufacturing in Uzbekistan, representing more than 7,000 enterprises with state-of-the-art technology. An industry that has grown several folds in the past few years and expected to reach $3 billion export by end of 2021. Fully transparent manufacturing chain capable to converting 100% of harvested cotton in highest quality textile product. So what makes us different? We managed to achieve fully transparent value chain. Location of Uzbekistan is our competitive advantages. We are right between Asia and Europe. On April 10th, Uzbekistan acquired the status of GSP Plus benefits. So this status implies zero duties when exporting to EU countries. Also, we have a free trade zone across the CIS. As I mentioned before, we have a great cotton, nowadays including organic. And the last but not least things to mention is state-of-the-art technologies. Such achievements were the result of our presidential political will towards creating the most convenient business environment in the new Uzbekistan, along with measures to attract foreign investment. The genuine pearl of our textile industry is the fashion and design. There is a tendency of transferring fashion collection design from the country of consumption to country of production. Our ambitious plan to make Tashkent as a regional capital of fashion industry. With this, I would like to thank you for your attention and cordially inviting you to Uzbekistan to make business together. Thank you very much.
네, 흔히 우즈베키스탄은 세계
Well, thank you
최대
very much. Normally, people say that Uzbekistan is the biggest producer and exporter of cotton, as you mentioned. So in your presentation, we also heard that there has been a technopark for textile as a result of the cooperation between Korea and Uzbekistan. I wish you a big success and also the ruling the industry in the world. And I also hope that there can be many more exchanges between companies in this industry. And also we have this next presentation that is about the project of producing vaccines, the Sputnik V for the first time in the world. And also we're going to have the presentation.
So through the contract manufacturing of the COVID vaccine, this Korean company contributed greatly to the growth of the partnership between Korea and Russia. And we can also open up a new value chain for further cooperation. And for this, we'd like to invite the Hwang, president of the Korea Korus. Thank you very much. I am Hwang, CEO of Hankook Korus Pharm. Today, I would like to talk about the value chain with Russian Sputnik V vaccine family and the future. So that's the title of my presentation. My presentation will consist of two parts. In part one, I am going to give you a brief introduction of our company and what kind of efforts we have made in order to globalize our businesses. And also, I would like to talk about some bio R&D pipeline that we have. And in part two, I would like to focus on the CMO contract for the supply of the Sputnik V vaccine with Russian company. Also, I would like to talk about some progresses as well as the future expected benefits from this business. So let me begin with part one. Hankook Korus Pharm is a subsidiary of GL Rafa. GL Rafa focuses on business development and investment. And under GL Rafa, there are several subsidiaries, so including the GL Corporation for overseas marketing and sales, and also JC Pharm for local marketing and distribution, and Hankook Korus Pharm that produce bio and generic product manufacturing. And we also have R&D center for the product pipeline development. And in order to commercialize the new and innovative biotechnology, we have Cell Therapy Center and BioCure Tech. Just like the bio firms in Korea, after the R&D, we pursue commercialization. But in order to increase success rate of the commercialization, Korean bio ventures have to join hands with overseas partners. And we have to penetrate into overseas market. But the problem is that there is a big and high entry barrier. And therefore, we are deeply aware of the need of commercialization and globalization. But at the same time, we are keenly aware how daunting it is to penetrate into overseas market. That's why we chose to have the localization strategies for each local market. So we pursue both globalization and localization for future businesses. And as a part of this corporate mission, we pursue investment and technology cooperation with major neighboring countries. So we established joint ventures together with the Abu Dhabi, Armenia, Egypt, Uzbekistan, and also many others. So we did a lot of joint venture investment projects in these countries, and also to ensure smooth information transfer and exchanges, and also to facilitate market access, we have established the liaison offices in 6 countries around the world. And here you can see major production facilities. So Hankook Korus Pharm. We have the Seoul office and R&D center, and also in Umseong, Jecheon, and Chuncheon. We have bio facility as well as manufacturing and production centers, especially in Chuncheon. We have a main bio facility, and it's a CMO factory for Sputnik V vaccine production. So it's not just for the bottling process. This factory produces the very substance of the vaccine and finish the product. So we do have a complete process for the production of finished goods. Next, I would like to talk about the pipelines that we do have for biosimilar and bio-better products. So these are the products that we have already launched or where we prepare for clinical trials to get a license. Next, in order to diversify our business and to penetrate into new areas, we also developed the monoclonal antibodies. And here you can see the list of the monoclonal antibodies that we developed so far. Let me now switch to part 2 of my presentation. In November last year, together with the RDIF, or Russian Direct Investment Fund, we signed the contract to produce Sputnik V. As you know, this is different from Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine that are based on mRNA. Supertonic vaccine is based on the recombinant human adenovirus vector type with proven safety and efficacy for a long time. So this is the adenovirus vector type vaccine. And Supertonic vaccine, it consists of 2 items. First, Sputnik V vaccine. Sputnik V vaccine is for the primary shot and also booster shot in order to maximize immunity. And second is Sputnik Light. So this is for the immunity compromised patients. So it has a lower immune reaction, but it's a one-shot vaccine and therefore very convenient. So we do have 2 types of vaccines, Sputnik V and Sputnik Light.
After making the contract, me and the executives had a very serious discussion, after which we had a consensus and we shared one thing. The CMO business for the Sputnik V vaccine is a very good opportunity as a business. There was no disagreement about that. And also across the world, we have a lot of people who are suffering pandemic, and we are able to give the contribution to the people who are suffering there. So that was our result of the discussion, and we wanted to focus our efforts onto this business. What drew our attention was the very fast marketization of the vaccines based on the technologies provided by Russia and also our applications, we can increase the size of the business, having the big manufacturing business. And also we wanted to accelerate the time frame as well. So we wanted to put our conditions that are favorable to the very fast production. Also in the bio sectors, so far we have had a lot of projects, but they had to wait for us until we are finished with the Russian direct investment funds, Sputnik V vaccine programs, because we wanted to put every effort on this out of our capabilities, histories, and track record. So this is all-out effort by all the members of our company to start this. It has been 1 year since we started to put our efforts on this. Now I can tell you that we are ready for the market distribution because we have acquired a lot of certifications for the GMO, the quality control system. We also had the certification of the technical validation for the optimization of the technologies. So we have completed every bit of the preparation. And also practically speaking, for the Sputnik V, the CMO contracts have been made with many countries in the world. Out of all the companies, our company is the very first one to finish the commercialization process ready. So probably in a very short time, you will see the products available in the market. So with the CMO business on Sputnik V from 2022, next year, we will be able to be in the market having the shoulder-to-shoulder competition with other biopharma companies in Korea. So we will be reaching the top sales volume compared to these other competing companies next year. So far, I have given you what kind of direct impact or effect we could enjoy having this vaccine CMO business. However, after having these businesses, we were able to also get the other side benefits as well as the other expectations ready. So these are the ripple effects we were able to enjoy after having this business. There are three actually. So there are indirect benefits, not the direct ones. I'm going to explain what they are. First of all, we were able to have a very good opportunity to enter overseas market. In 2024 and 25, the Eurasian Union will be launched. So EU members will be there, and also the Kazakhstan, Belarus, CIS companies, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan will be forming a unified economic community that will be called EAEU. And inside there, all the pharmaceutical companies will be registered as a harmonized manner. It means that they will be having the one rolling system to be registered to, differently from EU. So since we have the license of the Sputnik V, we already have prepared all the licenses as the GMO and many other applications. It means that we are ready to get into the ranks of the EAEU once the EAEU will be launched. So it will take the shortest time for us to get into these markets, and we will be the first comer with our products. The second effect we were able to garner after having the CMO business is as follows. As I mentioned earlier, we always wanted to be a localized company with the local and local businesses together. Therefore, we wanted to have a lot of joint ventures in other countries. We were and we are having the joint ventures nowadays. But many of the investments we made so far are intangible ones. The technologies or software side. Software side is very difficult to be visible. It requires a lot of evidence to prove. So if we show our technology, it will take a lot of time to convince our partners about the applicability of these technologies. So while pursuing the CMO business of Sputnik V, we had to talk with Bloomberg, CNN, Times, and many other media in the world about what we are doing and how well we can do these things. So we had a lot of promotions with these media outlets, and we didn't invite them, but we were invited. So it was possible for us to be recognized again differently at a different level. So this media was very, very favorable to us. We used to have a very slow going progresses, and sometimes we had some delays of the projects. But nowadays, I witnessed that for the last several months, we are being pushed very hard to accelerate our processes. We are being suggested by our partners to go ahead as quickly as possible. So all of these projects will be completed with our internal organizations and the follow-up procedures. So in the future, we're going to have a lot more joint ventures, and we will have the thorough businesses with the joint ventures, which will be the foundation of our future success. The third ripple effect, that is the synergy effect. We had a joint venture called Yes Rafa in Emirate. So that was 50-50 joint venture. Our main partner was Das Holding. And Das Holding, you might not be familiar with this. The Das Holding is actually owned by the world famous none other than Sheikh Mansour. So he is a very well-known personality, the owner of the men's field in the UK, is the giant in terms of finance. So we had this joint venture owned by that person. And also we were able to have a new bio business and new joint ventures. We're also discussing many other possible joint ventures in the future. So we will be ready also getting into a totally new business as well. We are discussing those matters now. So this partner has become a strategic partner for us. So the Das Holding is our partner for strategic business in the future. This has been my presentation that I prepared so far. But I would like to add some more things here. That is about the things that we regret the most, or the things we would do otherwise differently. As you may heard from the media, the Sputnik V is a result of the promotion, even by President Putin. So advantages have been emphasized and advertised a lot. Because of this media favoring this product, we were kind of self-sufficient in the first beginning years, and we were just complacent about this. We didn't think of rushing our business in the beginning because we just had very vague expectations that the licensing will be easy, the registration will be automatic, and Russia. Looking back, however, we now know that there was no preference over us because they had to follow all the rules and we couldn't bend any rule at all. Therefore, we had to experience trials and errors so far. So bioindustry, as you know, is a regulated industry. Why? Because it is related to the human life directly. Therefore, the regulations and rules will be tougher and tougher as time goes by. And also, the level of the regulation will be very much more advanced. But for us, we thought that we are a company that has exported our products to 30 to 40 countries so far. With this export business, we had to analyze all the different rules and regulations of all the countries. Even with that experience of ours, we were kind of blinded by our vague expectation that everything will be okay in Russia. What Russia will give an exception to us, but that didn't happen. So in the future, if you want to go to Russian market, your business will be important, of course, but you have to understand the rules and regulations in Russia. That way you can reduce the rooms for errors in the future. So that will be my advice to you as an indicator for your future business in Russia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CEO Hwang. So as a pioneer, I'm sure we do have a lot of daunting challenges ahead of us. But as a CMO, company, when it meets with the excellent product from Russia, I'm sure that it will create a huge success. Through the 4 presentations, we have heard about the cases of green technologies, as well as how we move toward the carbon neutrality era. And also due to the COVID-19, there are serious supply chain disruptions, which will give birth to other new types of innovative industries. We also have talked about the various companies' strategies to respond to these global challenges. Once again, I would like to thank all the 4 presenters for their insightful presentation. In order to proceed on to the panel discussion, we are going to prepare for the stage. So please bear with us for a few minutes. I would like to invite the panelists to the stage. Good afternoon. Now we are going to begin the panel discussion session. So with the COVID pandemic, we are now experiencing massive transformation. And in this era of fast changes, how we are going to react to that. And also celebrating the 30th anniversary of cooperation with countries in northern regions, we would like to explore some ways to advance our relationship even further. Before that, I would like to introduce to you our panelists. First, Dinara, Kemelova, Ambassador of Embassy of the Kyrgyz Republic in Korea, Alexander Fedorovsky, Head of Group for Pacific Studies in IMEMO, Russia, and also the Redolzov, Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Turkmenistan, Kang Myung-gu, Research Fellow of the KDB Future Strategy Research Institute, and also the Zhang Jin Li from Russia Gas Society. First, we would like to hear from the Dinara Kemelova, Ambassador of the Embassy of Kyrgyz Republic in Korea. Kyrgyz Republic celebrates 30th anniversary since the national independence, and for the first time among Central Asian countries, it joined the WTO and also became a member of the Eurasian Economic Union. It really actively pursues the open economy policy, and also in May this year, they announced the Kyrgyz Economic Development Plan. And if you look at their 5 major strategies, they are climate, healthcare, ICT, digital, and also many others. And they have pursued various projects in these 5 strategic sectors. So regarding that, after the COVID-19, in this era of massive changes, how the Kyrgyz Republic will respond to changes, and also what kind of economic cooperation we can foster together. For this, we'd like to hear from Ambassador.
Very good opportunity to present the business opportunity of my country, because Kyrgyzstan is not well known in South Korea. So let me start with introduction of the map of my country. And so Kyrgyz Republic is located in the crossroad of Europe and Asia, and has a border with China, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. Many Koreans think that Kyrgyzstan is far away, but in reality we are very close to each other. There's South Sea and China just between us. And so we are working now on the direct flight, and if we could launch direct flight next year, you can reach in 5 or 6 hours by plane. So this is a basic information about my country. So you could find that 7 oblasts, like provinces, and we have a territory of 200 square kilometers, which is twice in size of South Korea. But population of Kyrgyzstan is 6.6 million, which is about 8 times less than population of South Korea. So Kyrgyzstan was the first country who introduced the national currency, SOM, in 1993 after gaining independence. And because we have more than 100 ethnic groups living in Kyrgyzstan, including Koreans, 17,000 Koreans live in Kyrgyzstan, so we also use the Russian language as official language of Kyrgyzstan. So in this slide, I would like to present in brief the investment opportunities of the Kyrgyz Republic. And apart from the being of beautiful country with high mountains and Alps, it also has many interesting investment opportunities. So why the Kyrgyz Republic? Firstly, it is a country of liberal laws, transparent and favorable business environment, lowest taxes rates in the region, because income tax is only 10%, qualified labors, affordable and cheap electricity, convenient geographic location along with famous Silk Road, and visa-free travel for the citizens of more than 60 countries, including South Korea. Secondly, Kyrgyzstan offers you a market access to population of more than 550 million people. Kyrgyzstan is a member of Eurasian Union and also the Commonwealth of Independent States. Kyrgyzstan also was granted with special status of United States Generalized System of Preferences and European Generalized System of Preferences plus European GSP plus, which provides import duty relief for the products made in the Kyrgyz Republic. Thirdly, Kyrgyzstan develops and exports IT products and services. This is done through the special tax regime called High Technology Park, which is a special tax zone covering the entire country, where the residents have a single tax of 5%. Today, Kyrgyzstan has a membership in 124 international organizations, and it has more than 28 agreements on avoidance of double taxation and 32 agreements on mutual encouragement and protection of investment. Kyrgyzstan was the first country who from the region which entered to WTO. And Kyrgyzstan now has a stable international ratings. Our country was ranked 80th in the doing business in 2020 and included in the top of 20 reformer countries. Got 81st place in the Index of Economic Freedom. The country has a B2 stable ranking according to Moody's. So let me briefly stop in the economic development of the Kyrgyz Republic. As we mentioned today that this year Kyrgyzstan celebrates 30th anniversary of independence. And in these 30 years, we managed to build a truly democratic country with a strong civil society and introduce a free market economy with freedom of monetary transactions, low taxes, and special protection of investment. Our openness of the policy includes not only the transparent and society-oriented government, but also working on eliminating of corruption. And the Special Institute of Business Ombudsman was created in Kyrgyzstan, and former British ambassador to Kyrgyzstan, Mr. Robin North-Smith, was appointed. So we have foreign citizens who are monitoring the business opportunities and protection of investment in Kyrgyzstan. We have adopted several national programs and strategies in different spheres, and main of them is a national development strategy for 2018 until 2040. And the last program, which is called the National Development Program until 2026, actually was adopted September of this year, according to the current situation with COVID-19 and crisis and global challenges in the world. Like other countries, Kyrgyzstan is now experiencing difficulties with, due to pandemic COVID-19, and it especially affects the trade turnover between the countries of the region as well as with South Korea, because transport or logistics connected through the territory of China. And there are so many spheres in Kyrgyzstan were affected by pandemic. First of them was the construction, retail trade, tourism and such services like hotel and restaurant business, passenger transportation and manufacturing. But the interesting thing that agriculture was shown the same growth and with no practically has no changed. And British Prime Minister, Minister Winston Churchill once said, "Never let a good crisis to go west." So according to this principle, Kyrgyzstan now adapted its economy to the new reality. And so now the government of Kyrgyzstan determined 5 priority areas in which Kyrgyzstan really could compete and has a great potential on post-pandemic stage development. There are agriculture, energy, especially the hydro energy, mining, light industry, and tourism. Also, we are focusing on the working with the Republic of Korea. First of all, I would like to mention that we have already the investment protection agreement, which was signed in 2007, and we have agreement on the avoidance of double taxation, which was signed in 2012. And now there are more than 1,000 companies working in Kyrgyzstan with Korean participation. Most of them are small and medium-sized companies. And now the trade turnover is comparatively it's very low, but it's comprised of the $100 million per year, and we are expecting that it could be grow from year to year. And in this regard, today in message of President, I informed that Kyrgyzstan is included in the list of priority partner countries of the Republic of Korea for official development assistance. And now we have 2 big representative of Koika and Kopia, which are working actively in Kyrgyzstan. And so now we established the agency of development investment, which role is to help to investors, provide analytics and legal aspects of doing business, facilitate and protect of the right of investors. So for more detailed information, you can go to the website of investment.gov.kg, and you can find there the investment projects of the Kyrgyz Republic. This prospect you can also find online. And also you can get information about presentation of investment, tourism, and export potential of the Kyrgyz Republic through our activity of our embassy in South Korea. And I hope that actually you have so many things to discover in Kyrgyzstan. So I wish you all success and prosperity. And I hope that someday you could visit Kyrgyzstan and discover Kyrgyzstan. Thank you very much for your attention. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your excellent presentation. So as you can see from her presentation material, the Kyrgyzstan does have a beautiful natural landscape as well as the rich natural resources. I hope that a lot of investment could be made to the country. For economic recovery, we are exploring the areas for a new partnership. And also we are exploring growth engines together for the brighter future. Now, moving to Russia. Russia is the central country of the Eurasian Economic Union, and also they do have a very solid value chains with neighboring countries. After the COVID-19, there are a lot of disruptions in the supply chain and also the gross value chain. So I believe the cooperation between Korea and Central Asian countries are very critical. And regarding that, the Alexander Fedorovsky, head of the Group for Pacific Studies in IMEMO, will give us a presentation. Thank you very much, Professor Lee, for your warm introduction. I would like to thank the organizer of today's forum. Thank you very much for inviting me to Korea to be part of this auspicious conference. The organizer gave me some time for a presentation, but the time is short and I have to deal with a lot of questions. So I will just focus on some very important key questions. First of all, I'd like to talk about some indicators of the global economy. If you look at the WTO's indicators as well as the statistics from Russia, you can see that the global economy is actually on the path of recovery. Last year, because of COVID-19, Russia was hit hard, but now its economy is on the phase of recovery. Right before the departure for Korea, I received this information that by the end of this year, Russian economy will grow by 4.7%. And this is almost equivalent to the pre-COVID era, even exceeding that. But then the second question that we can ask is this. The question is how the recovery will be unfolded. I think this is completely different from the first question. Why? Because economy is just about to rebound and the relationship with South Korea just began normalization. I'm very sorry for this technical problem. I'm now having difficulty in moving around the slide. This slide shows the trade volumes between Russia and South Korea, and you can see that the total trade volume is also on the growth path. But when it comes to the conventional industries, you can see some growth in trade volume. For example, like commodities, as well as the manufactured products. These are the areas where we maintain and increase trade volumes. But in the post-COVID world, the trade structure between Korea and Russia should have changed, but somehow I think they will stick to the previous one. So this means that once we phase out limitations, we will no longer have the growth engines for further growth. So what's important here is that in this global value chain, so we have to review this global value chain, and you can see that about 86%. So this is sort of the upstream participation. In other words, a lot of products without being processed are traded globally. In other words, Russia participates heavily in these industries, but when it comes to the upstream area, or rather the downstream area, Russia's participation is pretty low. And Eurasian Economic Union, as well as the cooperation with Korea, in order to advance that, this is something that we have to work out. So Russia should be more involved in the processing industry, rather than just dealing with the commodities. But still, there are some promising signs. So I believe that Russia can expand its economic leadership because it has a macroeconomic stability. It has close proximity to the main industrial centers and major markets. These could be very good advantages for Russia because we can locate the production capacity close to the consumption market. And so we have to decide whether to go for offshore production or not. And when deciding this, geographical proximity is an important factor that we have to take into consideration. And therefore, if you think about Russia's prospect for future investment, I believe that Russia can enjoy a lot of opportunities for future. There are several economic cooperation programs between Russia and South Korea, and many of them are actually heading toward the same direction. Political and administrative support are also being provided to foster cooperation between the two countries. Now, I would like to talk about when engaged in cooperation, what are the areas that we have to make improvement? First of all, we have to cultivate cooperation in related industries. So we already have strong cooperation in conventional, traditional industries, but when it comes to so-called related industries or industries that are related with the conventional businesses that Korea and Russia already have strong cooperation, we have to foster cooperation in these areas as well. And we have to put in human resources and financial resources to support and strengthen cooperation. And at the same time, information exchange is critical. We have to provide timely and accurate information in order to drive the growth of economic development. Russia, when it comes to the traditional industries, including agriculture, Russia is the world's largest exporter of agricultural products. Especially when it comes to the grain export, Russia produces a lot, and Russia also produces a lot of meat products. So you can see that Russia has a lot of businesses in unprocessed raw products. But I hope that we could have more cooperation with Korea to move up this industrial ladder to processing industries. And the service sector is another thing that Korea and Russia can cooperate. Russia does have a underdeveloped service industry, and I believe that this will offer a lot of potential for future cooperation. So we have to monitor how we cooperate. We have to review the regulations and rules and laws between the two countries. We have to identify the gaps between the two countries and monitor them in order to effectively narrow down the differences and also eliminate the barriers in advance. And for this, experts must be engaged in exchanges program, and this will contribute to the development of human resources. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alexander Pedrovsky has given us the information as the senior researcher of MEMO, and he is a real expert in the relations between Russia and Korea. He has given a lot of support to Korean companies in the 1970s and 80s when Korean companies were entering Russia. He understands very well about the difficulties and the obstacles faced by the Korean companies by his experience. Also, in order to improve the relationship and expand the horizon of the cooperation, he has given us the input that information is really important as well as the tangible support. And also, he is also resonating with us that we are doing what he is actually emphasizing at the level of KITA and also the KOTRA. Now we are going to invite Mr. Dobregyalt Rezepov, the chairman of the Turkmenistan Chamber of Commerce, is going to give us what kind of changes are made in his country in terms of the policies for the economic development. 5.5% of GDP increase is expected from Turkmenistan, and also we can hear from him about the top secret which made it possible. So would you like to now give him a big hand to Mr. Dobregyalt Rezepov? So we are looking forward to hearing many of the insights from him about the possible building blocks of the economic cooperation. Please, we are going to be connected with him now. Distinguished participants to IFNEC International Forum for Northern Economic Cooperation, respectable colleagues, honorable distinguished guests. On behalf of Turkmenistan Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to express my deepest appreciation to the organizers. I also welcome all participants to this forum. I wish the big success of this IFNEC. For the second year in a row, COVID-19 has led to severe crises in the global health sector as well as the economic one. COVID-19 pandemic weakened economic cooperation relationship. After the end of the pandemic, the sustainable restoration of economic cooperation will depend on the size of the promotion policy package. The connection is not there, so the translators cannot hear more. And the quality of efficiency of all measures to be taken to improve the sustainability of the global economy in the face of new challenges. We can also have the improvement of the conditions and the efficiency of all the measures, and transportation and other infrastructure development will be very important. It was also important prior to the pandemic for the local logistics and transportation. Turkmenistan has played a very important bridging role in the neighboring countries. With the pandemic as a crisis, however, we are very much interested in restoring these connections of the transportation. We made every effort to guarantee that there is a smooth connection of all the countries around. What we did actually included streamlining regulations. All these step-by-step approaches has been reduced. At the same time, these interim measures have been taken as well so that the international transactions cannot be interrupted. And also in the future, the regional cooperation and the network connectivity will be further increased with the e-commerce business. I am sure that the e-business will be further fostering the new conditions. The economic stability will provide the better conditions for the businesses, not only for the local businesses, but for the international worlds. Therefore, we are going to benchmark the advanced countries' business environment. In relation to that, in 2020 and 2025, we had a adoption of the external economic development program in Turkmenistan, in which we are trying to improve the economic relationship with many other counterparts. Also, we had the economic development initiative that has been adopted by the government. And also, that was in accordance with the initiative by Turkmenistan President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov. According to the materials by the expert banks in Turkmenistan, FDI has been placed at the amount of $1.5 million as of September 2021. The external debt of Turkmenistan took 13% of the overall budget of the country, which is not a bad condition compared to other countries. We're also making investment of the 52% of the GDP in oil and in refinery. And also transportation has been allocated with the 11% of the budget, and 9% has gone to energy sectors. So if you look at the numbers here, 80% of the FDIs have been geared toward domestic businesses. That means we can diversify our businesses at a very rapid pace, unleashing the country's vast resource potential and creating thousands of new jobs. In 2021, as of August, we were also being given the credit rating by Fitch as B for short term and B plus for longer term, and we were classified as stable. And also it means that our credit rating as a nation has been continuously inching up. Last year, the Turkmenistan Ministry of Foreign Affairs had entered MOU with the UNCTAD so that we can have a project of unifying contact points in our country. So with this new window of opportunity, with the single system, we can have the one single pathway for the documentation and filing, leading to huge reduction of time taken. And this is one of the areas that we want to raise in terms of the smoothing of the transactions and cooperation with other countries. I'm sure that these will be beneficial for the future programs with other countries. As a part of our development initiative, Turkmenistan has acquired the position of the overseas partners programs, and also WTO accession will be ready by 2025 according to our declaration as of the early this year. Now let me talk about the Chamber of Commerce in Turkmenistan very briefly. The Turkmenistan Chamber of Commerce is an NGO company and non-profit organization, and has been working as a direct organization for partners, and we are now introducing the search functions that can work efficiently. So entering overseas markets can provide private companies with the opportunities for the development. When Turkmenistan companies are entering foreign markets, we are also assisting them to go overseas and the vice versa. We are providing very practical assistance to the companies and entrepreneurs. Also for the companies in and outside the country, Turkmenistan Chamber of Commerce has provided a lot of support programs to facilitate cooperation. At about 76 areas, we have made MOU agreed upon in the locations with the chambers of commerce in other countries. Various forums and the exhibitions have been also made by our organization. We are the only organizer and intermediary for these events. Through these events and exhibitions, the further collaboration will be made by our organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, so that was the presentation from the Turkmenistan, and said that they attained the observer status, and also within 5 years they're going to join WTO. And also under the leadership of the current president, Turkmenistan wants to open up and expand its economic relationship with many more countries. Under the auspices of the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation, we have also signed some MOUs with Turkmenistan to facilitate information exchanges. So if you are interested, any businesses, I hope that you could utilize this channel. Now, regarding the climate change, we would like to have some discussion. So the countries around the world have come up with the NDC for greenhouse gas reductions. And in order to reduce dependencies on fossil fuels, they are engaged in various efforts, and Russia is not an exception. Russia is heavily reliant on energy resources. This is the common perception among Korean people. However, that's not always correct. So for this, the Zhang Jin Li, the member of Expert Council of the Russia Gas Society, will give us a presentation on this. Especially, he will be talking about a lot of interesting stories regarding the hydrogen. Good afternoon. I am Zhang Jin Li, and currently I am studying the energy market. Thank you very much for your invitation, and I would like to thank the Presidential Committee on Northern Economic Cooperation as well as Professor Lee Sang-jun. Today, I would like to talk about Russia's green growth strategy and what kind of cooperations we can have and pursue between Korea and Russia. Russia and Korea, when it comes to the climate change policies, I believe that the two countries are in different situations. Why? Because Russia, when it comes to the GHG reduction target, they have already achieved this a long time ago. So compared with the 1990 level, their GHG was cut by 50% already. And the Russian government and businesses, when it comes to environment policies and GHG reduction targets, they don't really feel burdened. However, Russia is also experiencing the huge extreme weathers due to the climate change. So a lot of Russian land and territory is located in the northern part, which are vulnerable to a lot of weather abnormalities brought by global warming. So they are experiencing the extreme effect of global warming. For example, like there is a permafrost area, and some of them got meltdown, And as a result, the infrastructures and buildings located there got hit hard. And if this damage continues, Russia estimates that their damage will amount to $11 billion. And also Russia is experiencing more flood as well as the natural disasters. And that's why the Russian government is now paying keen attention to climate change to come up with appropriate policies. For example, like earlier, a few days ago, there was a COP26 held in Glasgow, the UK. And in the lead up to this COP26, Russia announced the carbon neutrality by 2050. Russia does have a huge natural resources, and Russia emits a lot of carbon. However, they made this carbon neutrality declaration, which vindicates Russian government's strong commitment to global warming issues. And as a part of the macroeconomic policies, by 2050, they said that versus the 1999 level, they're going to reduce the GHG emission by 80% to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2060. So this climate change policy of the Russian government, as you can see from its goals, you can see that when it comes to methodologies, they could be different from Korea because they're trying to maintain the economic growth rate while at the same time reduce greenhouse gas emission. So they're trying to pursue these two goals simultaneously. This is because Russia is heavily reliant on the natural resources, and therefore, if they reduce the greenhouse gas emissions too drastically, then it could pose a negative impact on economy. So they are working also hard to maintain the current economic growth rate. Russia does have a huge land, especially the Siberia and tundra. They have a lot of forests. So they are trying to utilize these forest resources in order to respond to climate change. So they are trying to plant more trees in order to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions or utilize these forest resources as carbon sink. So reducing greenhouse gas emission is important, but we also have to think about some opportunities that can be brought by the expansion of the forest resources, which can work effectively as carbon sink. And also in the eastern part of Russia, the gas supply is not smooth. So for electricity, electricity is widely adopted. And also fossil fuels are burnt a lot for heating and also hot water supply. So they're trying to switch from fossil fuels to electricity or the natural gas. And Russia is in fact the world's largest natural gas producer. And also Russia does have a lot of strong advantages in electricity because they do have a lot of resources for electricity generation. So they can have huge potential for renewable energies, and also they do have a lot of potentials for energy efficiency improvements. So they're going to replace the old infrastructures with the new ones in order to reduce electricity consumption and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And also when it comes to the renewable energy power generation, Russia does have a huge potential. First of all, it has a huge land. And also on northern part of Russia, there is a strong wind, and Russia is cold. But in eastern part of Russia, they do have the strong sunlight. And also in southern part of Russia, near the Black Sea, there are a lot of sunlight resources as well. And therefore, the PV and the solar power does have the huge potential in this area for development. Korea is highly interested in hydrogen and renewable energies, and I think this is where we can cooperate with Russia for the future. When it comes to hydrogen sector, hydrogen is difficult to handle because it's very difficult to transport and store. It's very costly to store and transport the hydrogen, and therefore reducing the period for transportation, that's the best way to achieve the economic feasibility. As you know, Russia is closely located from Korea, and therefore when we transport hydrogen from Russia to Korea, we can effectively reduce the transportation costs. And in the sense, I believe that Russia and Korea can have a lot of potential for cooperation. And since Russia is a vast country, and therefore they do have very low population density, and many areas are not properly located to decentralized electricity systems. So in these remote areas, we can provide the renewable energy sources, and they can have their own power generation system utilizing renewable energies, and this will effectively cut down the greenhouse gas emissions. So I think that this is one area that we can explore cooperation further between Korea and Russia. And as for the hydrogen sector, especially in the Sakhalin area, starting from 2025, they're actually planning to export hydrogen. And I understand that the negotiations are currently underway between Russia and Korea. So hydrogens that are produced from Russia will have a lot of benefits for Korea. And also Russia is now pursuing a lot of modernization projects for the old infrastructure. And in this sense, this is again another area that we can have close cooperation. And when it comes to renewable energy power generation, Russia does have a huge untapped potential, and there are a lot of local players as well. So Korean companies, they could have some disadvantages in terms of the price competitiveness. But because Korean companies do have a lot of technologies, great technologies, so we can engage in cooperation for the R&D sector for renewable energy development. And this will be a win-win partnership for both countries.
Thank you so much. That was a very interesting presentation from Mr. Zhang Jin Li. The possibility of having the cooperation in the new renewable energy is quite high, and also we have been hearing very interesting topic in that part as well. Now moving on, we'd like to have Mr. Kang Myung-gu, research member of KDB Future Strategy Institute. We're going to also hear about the implementation strategies to the green economy of the countries and also the ways to work with them as well. Thank you very much. I am the last person to speak in this business session. So I'm very honored to be with all other colleagues of mine who are very much renowned in their own perspective areas. As introduced, I am the research and member of the KDB Future Strategy Research, and I'll be talking about the green economy as mentioned. So the green economy is promoted as a part of our programs to build the new ecology and also foster the green villages as well as the industry that is amenable to the ecology. So we are having this green economy initiative for these purposes. In these Central Asian countries are also accommodating green economy initiative to explore new and renewable energy so that we can have the foundation of the green economy. All these Central Asian countries are trying hard to shift toward this green economy by the collaboration not just within the country but also with other countries. As you know, 2050 National Development Strategy and Initiative has been made by other countries, including Kazakhstan, as you heard today. Kazakhstan, using this 2050 strategy, is aiming at increasing the GDP by 2.5 times, and also through the expansion of the renewable energy, carbon footprint will be reduced by 40% by 2040. Uzbekistan is also having another initiative. They have the National Economic Development Plan for 2019 and 2022, and through the annual address by the president, they're going to move on to the green economy as well to have the milestones. And other countries such as Turkmenistan and also the other Kyrgyzstan are not the exceptions to these trends. Korea, on our part, should be able to work and cooperate in each of the countries here in Central Asia. Having said that, it is possible to have the collaboration, but I'm going to pinpoint three major areas. First of all, in the green economy, you should have the collaboration for the fundamental industries to go for the green economy. The Central Asian countries are in need of the state-of-the-art technologies for the photovoltaic Also, they need the AI and digitalization for the demand forecasting. Therefore, I can tell you that the demand level is unlimited, but it is not the situation where you can be only unilaterally going forward. Therefore, since their ability to be self-sufficient in each of the Central Asian countries, you have to be mindful that you can be bilateral in the relations. Once you are in there, the profitability will be there. Secondly, I would like to advise that the collaboration should be further expanded in the green economy. After 2000s, the carbon emission has become the most important terminology in the world. Also, after 2016 COP meeting, the carbon development and power generation and the inefficient fossil development have been under discussion. Phase out of carbon emitting power generations have been also discussed. With the new and renewable energies, collaboration should be further sought after. Also, the originator of the carbon emission is the vehicles, automobiles. Therefore, the electric vehicles can be an alternative. Therefore, we can have the systems that are already available in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan with the facilities for the electronic vehicles by Korean companies. Also, they will be a source of collaboration as well. Also, in addition to that, we can have the natural resource collaboration. Many of the countries are exporting their raw materials like minerals. They're exporting them to the EU countries, and they can be also subject to the carbon neutrality. Since the EU countries have promulgated their projection to carbon neutrality by 2050, they have to follow up with the procedures in Central East Asia as well. Therefore, the Central Asian countries should be working together with Korean companies so that they can meet the demands and expectations of the EU and other export countries. Well, thank you very much.
So while moderating this business session, this thought came to my mind that the COVID pandemic, changed and upended our day-to-day lives. But we'll return to normalcy. However, this normalcy will be different from what we experienced in the past, before COVID. So this actually gives us a new opportunity to explore new areas of cooperation and redefine our relationship. I sincerely hope that all the panelists' discussions could provide a valuable insight to strengthen cooperation between Korea and countries in northern regions. Once again, I would like to thank all the speakers and panelists for their valuable time. And also, I would like to thank the participants on-site and online. Thank you very much. This will conclude the business session.
All of our panelists for a very fruitful discussion as well as the business session. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to a close for the business session. Our last session, the financial cooperation session, will resume at 4 p.m. So please enjoy the break, and we will see you in just a couple minutes. Thank you very much.